Beloved, chosen one, listen carefully. Heaven pauses for you in this very moment. The air around you shifts because something sacred took place today. You may not have realized it, but what you did reached heaven. It wasn't loud. It wasn't celebrated. It was quiet, humble, and pure. Yet it delighted the very heart of God. Today, you obeyed a divine whisper. You showed mercy where bitterness would have felt easier. You gave when no one was watching. You prayed for someone who once hurt you. You chose silence when pride wanted to shout. That choice, the one that seemed small to you, became a roar in the spirit realm. Heaven smiled. You didn't seek validation, yet heaven validated you. The unseen world stood still as your heart aligned with obedience. Angels leaned close. The Father's eyes softened. That's what happens when a soul chooses righteousness over recognition. The noise of the world fades, and all that remains is divine delight. Chosen one, this is the beauty of your walk. You are not called to impress, you are called to obey. Every time you choose God in private, He rewards you in ways that last forever. Every silent prayer, every quiet act of surrender, every selfless gesture writes your name deeper into His story. You see, the world measures greatness by visibility, but heaven measures it by obedience. The moment you chose patience today, something eternal shifted. Light moved. Chains weakened. You didn't just make a good choice, you made a heavenly impact. God has been waiting for this moment. He's watched you wrestle with disappointment, battle with silence, and walk through valleys where no one cheered. Yet today, you rose. You listened. You obeyed. You reflected His heart. And that single act pleased Him more than 1,000 empty songs. Heaven saw the nights you cried in silence, wondering if obedience even mattered. Every whispered prayer became a seed beneath the soil of destiny. Today, that seed broke open. What was buried in tears now blossoms in favor. You're walking proof that unseen faith produces visible glory. The Father leans forward, whispering your name with pride. The same voice that called light out of darkness now speaks blessing over you. Well done, my child. Your endurance has unlocked an unseen gate, and what felt delayed was merely divinely timed preparation for your rising. Even creation recognizes your shift. Winds that once opposed now carry you higher. You've become a sound in the spirit, a vibration of obedience that cannot be ignored. Demons tremble, angels rejoice, and heaven records this day as the moment you became fully aligned with destiny. So lift your head, chosen one. You have touched the heart of God. Don't underestimate the beauty of small obedience, for it moves eternal things. Your surrender today was not a moment, it was a mark, a declaration to all realms that you belong wholly to Him. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That, beloved, is exactly what you did today. You walked humbly. You loved mercy. You acted justly, not to be seen, but to please the one who sees all. The fragrance of your obedience rose before His throne like sweet incense. It wasn't about perfection, it was about your posture of surrender. Heaven celebrates such posture. Angels whisper your name as one who chooses light over darkness. You may feel unseen, but the throne has taken notice. The same hand that shaped galaxies reached down today to mark your obedience. That moment you thought was insignificant became the highlight of heaven's day. This is why storms didn't break you, they prepared you. Trials didn't destroy you, they refined you. Every delay, every disappointment, every tear brought you here to a place where your obedience brings heaven joy. And when heaven smiles, everything in creation realigns in your favor. So pause now and breathe. You are not behind. You are in divine timing. You've stepped into a rhythm that angels understand, the rhythm of faithfulness. When others rush, you wait. When others seek approval, you seek presence. That's what sets you apart. That's why you are called chosen. And as this truth sinks deep into your spirit, take a prophetic step of agreement, like this message. Share it with another chosen one who needs to be reminded that heaven still notices faithfulness. And comment 777 below as a symbol of divine completion. Then subscribe, because there is more revelation coming, more words that will build your spirit and anchor your faith. Heaven smiled today because you chose righteousness over recognition. And as that smile rests upon you, know this: the best chapters of your destiny are about to unfold, written in the ink of obedience and sealed with divine joy. Chosen one, heaven has not stopped watching you. The fragrance of what you did lingers in eternity, and its echo continues to move through unseen corridors. You think it was just a small gesture, a simple act of kindness, a word of forgiveness, a prayer whispered in secret, but heaven recorded it as a victory. The ripple of that obedience did not end when you walked away. It kept spreading, touching places you will never see until eternity unveils them. What you did today was hidden from human eyes, yet the Spirit marked it as sacred. The Father delights not in how visible your obedience is, but in how pure your motive remains. There is no competition in heaven's courts, only celebration when one of his chosen ones acts from love rather than pride. You didn't do it for recognition. You did it because something inside of you, something eternal, responded to his voice. The world doesn't understand such moments. It claps for achievements, but stays silent for humility. Yet, heaven does the opposite. When you chose humility, angels stood at attention. When you chose patience, the atmosphere shifted. And when you chose to let go of what wounded you, divine mercy began to move through your life like a rushing river. You may not have heard the sound, but all of creation felt it. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Zechariah. Chapter 4, verse 10. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. You may have thought your small kindness was forgotten, but in heaven, nothing pure is ever wasted. Every seed of compassion becomes a tree of remembrance before God. Every tear that fell unseen waters those seeds. And every time you choose light over darkness, heaven plants another flag of victory in your name. Chosen one, you have become a signpost of divine consistency. God is teaching you that greatness is born in the hidden places. He is shaping you into someone who can carry greater weight without collapsing under pride. That's why he trains you in silence, because the anointing grows stronger when applause fades. There are moments when your obedience feels invisible, even unrewarded. You wonder if God truly sees. But listen, the silence is not neglect, it is sanctification. Heaven is measuring your capacity, testing whether your motives remain pure even when no one celebrates you. You pass every test when you choose obedience over outcome. Every hidden act becomes a declaration to the spiritual world I serve, not for recognition, but for relationship. That declaration terrifies the enemy. It tells darkness that your loyalty cannot be bought by blessings or shaken by storms. That is why you are different. That is why you are chosen. When you move in love, you create an atmosphere where miracles take root. You didn't see the shift, but angels did. They moved into position because your obedience gave heaven legal permission to advance. Every word you spoke in faith became a spark, and every spark drew light into a place that had known only shadow. Beloved, never underestimate what happens when a heart aligns with heaven. The smallest step in faith can open the greatest doors. A single whisper of forgiveness can undo years of oppression. A single word of kindness can reroute someone's destiny. You are a carrier of that kind of power, power clothed in gentleness. This is what God delights in, not the loud or the proud, but the ones who walk softly before Him. You carry within you a quiet fire, one that does not need to be seen to burn brightly. Heaven sees, heaven remembers, and heaven rewards. Let this truth steady you. The same God who counted Abraham's faith as righteousness is counting your small acts of obedience as seeds of glory. Every hidden yes becomes a bridge between heaven and earth. Every moment you surrender, your will becomes an altar where God meets you personally. So keep walking in that same rhythm. You don't need validation, you already have His delight. Every secret sacrifice is building something in the Spirit, a fortress of grace that will outlast storms and silence alike. You are learning to live from the inside out, from heaven downward, not from applause upward. Chosen one. Remember this always: nothing done in love goes unnoticed by God. The gesture that felt ordinary to you became extraordinary in His eyes. The step you thought was small became a heavenly march. The smile you gave when your heart was heavy became an anthem of joy in the courts of heaven. You have no idea how many destinies are being influenced by your quiet faithfulness. One day, heaven will replay these moments before you, and you will see how every hidden act became part of a larger tapestry of redemption. Until then, keep sowing in silence, keep walking in love, and keep trusting that your unseen obedience resounds louder than any sermon ever preached. For today, heaven is still echoing with the sound of what you did, and that echo will never fade. Chosen one, something holy is unfolding around you. The act you did yesterday still breathes in the Spirit. What looked like a moment was actually a movement. God is weaving together every choice, every whisper of obedience, every quiet yes you've spoken in faith. The ripple continues moving through time, reaching hearts, shaking atmospheres you may never visit. Today, heaven opens another layer of revelation for you. You are beginning to see what happens when faith and obedience merge. You are realizing that nothing you've done in surrender ever disappears, it multiplies. The smallest moment of alignment with God releases waves of divine energy that alter everything they touch. That is what your life is doing right now, altering what seemed unchangeable. You have to understand, beloved, the kingdom doesn't advance through noise, it advances through purity. You didn't have to shout for heaven to hear you. Your silence, laced with faith, was louder than any declaration of fear. The unseen world knows your name because you have become a vessel through which divine purpose flows. The Word of God declares in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, Verse 9, let us not become weary in doing good. For at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. You have not given up, even when the nights were long, even when prayers went unanswered. You kept sowing, you kept trusting, you kept forgiving. That persistence delights the heart of God because it mirrors His own endurance toward His creation. Every time you love again, you resemble your Father. Every time you forgive again, you look like Jesus. Every time you hope again, you move like the Spirit. Chosen one, this is why your life carries such spiritual weight. You have become living proof that surrender is not weakness, it is mastery. You have mastered storms that would have destroyed others. You have walked through fires without losing your song. You have faced silence without losing your faith. That's what heaven calls strength. There's a reason you often feel pressure before a breakthrough. Pressure in the Spirit means new territory is opening. Heaven stretches you not to break you, but to enlarge you. The anointing on your life is growing. And new oil always comes with new crushing. You are being pressed not because you are forgotten, but because you are chosen to pour. The world may overlook you, but heaven has already announced your name in its halls. You are known there not for your achievements, but for your obedience. Your consistency is your crown. It glows brighter each time you choose humility over pride, service over selfishness, peace over chaos. There are angels stationed around you even now. Some were sent because of prayers you no longer remember praying. Others arrived because of that simple act of love you did last week. Heaven mobilizes around obedience. Your life is not random, it's divinely orchestrated. And heaven moves when you do. Chosen one, keep this truth sealed in your heart. You are not waiting for favor. Favor is waiting for you to step forward. What's next is already prepared. The miracle is not somewhere in the distance, it's responding to your current posture of faith. Every time you trust again, you shorten the distance between promise and manifestation. But hear this, your next miracle is tied to your continued obedience. Don't let weariness silence your worship. Don't let disappointment dull your light. The harvest is closer than it appears. The angels are already gathering what you sowed in tears. You will not end this season empty-handed. And now, as you listen, heaven nudges your spirit toward declaration, not for show, not for reaction, but as a prophetic act, a seal on what heaven has spoken. Type this below as a confession of faith, I still believe. Type it once and mean it deeply. You're not typing for the algorithm, you're typing for alignment. Every word you release becomes sound in the Spirit, and heaven responds to sound. I still believe that is not just a statement, it's a proclamation that even if storms rise again, your faith will not drown. It's a declaration that the same God who walked with you through the valley is walking with you now into victory. When you write it, you're agreeing with heaven that surrender is stronger than striving, that faith is greater than fear, that hope still reigns even in waiting. It is your way of saying, Father, I'm not quitting. I trust you, even here. Remember this. Beloved, your endurance today is the proof of your maturity. The greater the calling, the greater the refining. You're not losing, you're being leveled up. Heaven is shaping you into a warrior of light who carries both compassion and power, mercy and fire. So keep walking, keep believing, keep releasing love into a world that desperately needs it. You have already done something that delighted God. but you are also becoming something that reveals him. Every step forward is a testimony that faith still works, that obedience still matters, and that heaven still moves when one chosen soul dares to say yes. Chosen one. The whisper of heaven has not faded. You are still standing in the glow of divine pleasure. The act you did that seemed so small continues to burn in the archives of eternity. There is a fragrance around you now, an invisible light that only heaven and darkness can see. Darkness fears it because it knows that light came from obedience. You didn't fight your way into this radiance. You surrendered your way into it. Every moment of obedience creates an opening for God to move in new ways. You have become that opening, a living portal of divine will. Wherever you go, heaven watches for an opportunity to move through you. Every conversation, every decision, every pause you take before reacting, it all becomes space for God to breathe through you. What you did wasn't an isolated act. It was the manifestation of a deep, internal shift. Heaven celebrates not just your action, but your transformation. There was a time when anger would have ruled, when pride would have spoken first, when pain would have dictated your tone, but not now. Something new governs your heart. Love has taken the throne. Mercy has found a home in your spirit. You are changing, and heaven sees it. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 51, verse 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. That verse is not about weakness, it's about power under surrender. A contrite heart is not a crushed heart, it's a heart fully yielded. And that is the very posture you carried when you obeyed. The world equates power with control, but heaven defines power as obedience. A heart that yields is a heart that conquers. You are being refined by God not to destroy your strength, but to channel it. The same fire that once burned in frustration is now burning with purpose. The same tears that once fell in confusion now water the soil of spiritual growth. You are not who you were last year. Heaven knows your new name, even if the world doesn't. Beloved, there are seasons when God hides his most precious ones. You may feel unseen, but that's not rejection, it's incubation. A seed in the soil isn't forgotten, it's being prepared. You are that seed. The darkness around you isn't punishment, it's protection. God hides what he's about to unveil. When your time comes, no force on earth or hell can keep your fruit from showing. Even now, the soil of your obedience is rich. It's filled with every prayer you've whispered, every apology you've spoken, every step you've taken in faith. Heaven has watered it with grace. Soon, what's been growing in silence will speak loudly through your life. Others will see the result and call it sudden, but heaven will call it right on time. You are learning to trust divine timing. Waiting has become worship for you. Silence has become strength. Every delay has taught you to discern, to rest, to let God move first. The chosen ones always learn patience before they are revealed. God doesn't rush with those carrying eternal weight. He shapes them slowly, deeply, thoroughly. Your story is evidence that holiness isn't born in comfort, it's born in surrender. Every no you've said to temptation has added a new layer of authority to your voice. Every moment you refused, bitterness became a battle won in heaven's eyes. The warfare you faced wasn't random, it was a measure of your potential. The greater your calling, the greater the resistance, but also the greater the grace that sustains you. Chosen one, understand this. Your obedience is not just for you. It's generational. Your yes to God is breaking cycles your ancestors couldn't. Your surrender is rewriting bloodlines. Heaven sees families, nations, and futures being redirected through your single act of faith. You think you just forgave someone, but heaven saw a lineage being purified. You think you just prayed, but heaven saw chains shatter in unseen places. That is why you cannot minimize what God is doing in you. You are carrying something ancient and sacred. You are a continuation of a divine story that began long before you were born. Each step you take in obedience fulfills a word spoken long ago. You are walking inside prophecy, so rest in that awareness. You don't need to chase confirmation. You are confirmation. You don't need to prove your worth. Your worth was established the moment heaven called you chosen. Let peace settle over you. The same God who noticed your act yesterday will guide your every step tomorrow. The light He placed within you will keep expanding, and every dark place it touches will bow in surrender. Keep moving with quiet confidence. The Father delights in you not because of what you produce, but because of who you've become. You are the evidence of transformation, the proof that grace still works, and the reason heaven sings, Chosen One. Do you feel it? The quiet hum in your spirit, the warmth that rests upon your shoulders like sunlight breaking through a storm. That's heaven acknowledging you again. What you began in faith has not stopped moving. It's like a river, silent but unstoppable, flowing from your heart into the unseen. Every gentle act you've done continues to carve new paths of grace through places once dry and barren. You may think your part is small, but rivers begin with raindrops. And you, beloved, have been raining goodness upon this earth. One word of encouragement, one act of forgiveness, one prayer for another soul, it all adds up. Heaven measures differently. Where the world sees drops, God sees floods. The voice of heaven reminds us through the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Your light has been shining, sometimes without your awareness. When you comforted the one who lost hope, heaven saw. When you gave your time to listen, even while tired, heaven marked it down. Each time you loved selflessly, you became a reflection of God's heart to a world starving for kindness. You've been sowing light in a land full of shadows. And now, heaven prepares to return that light to you multiplied. Beloved, every light needs fuel. Even a divine flame must be tended. The oil that keeps your lamp burning is your continual connection to what nourishes your spirit worship. Prayer, truth, and community. The voice you're hearing now, these words flowing like rivers, are part of that oil. They exist to remind you of who you are when the world makes you forget. Imagine this space as a small altar in the middle of a vast night. Every time you come here to listen, you bring a spark. Every share, every act of spreading the message adds wood to the fire. The more wood, the brighter the flame burns for others still lost in the dark. When you like this message, it's not vanity, it's agreement. It tells heaven, I see this light, and I want more of it. When you share it, you are like a messenger bird carrying embers from one valley to another. igniting hearts that have gone cold. Many souls are wandering in silence right now, waiting for a reminder that heaven hasn't forgotten them. You can become that reminder. And when you subscribe, it's like planting a tree beside this river of truth. It ensures that the flow continues, that your spirit remains connected to the wellspring that refreshes faith. You're saying to heaven, keep pouring into me, and I'll keep pouring out. But there's another sacred act, one that not everyone speaks of with purity. It's the act of giving. When you choose to donate, it's not about transaction, it's participation. You're adding oil to a lamp that lights the path for thousands. Every seed of generosity becomes part of the divine exchange. Picture it like this: when you give, you hand heaven a seed. That seed disappears from your hand. Yes, but beneath the soil of faith, it begins to multiply. Rain falls, roots grow, time passes, and one day, in your own life, the harvest returns more beautiful than you imagined. The law of divine reciprocity was written into the fabric of creation itself. Giving is not losing, it's sowing. So as you feel led, let your giving be a love note to heaven, a whisper saying, "Thank you for trusting me to carry this light." Whether you give through time, prayer, or contribution, the effect is the same. Your act sustains something that sustains others. Chosen one, never underestimate the sacredness of your support. You are helping build an altar of words, hope, and divine truth in a world that's rapidly losing its sense of the holy. Your light fuels this work. Your generosity keeps the fire alive. Each click, each share, each offering is a brick in the invisible temple heaven is constructing through your faith. If this message has touched you, let it move through you. Let your actions reflect your agreement with heaven. Keep this flow of divine encouragement alive, not for fame, but for faith. For every message sent, every story shared, every seed sown is one more heart awakened, one more soul reminded that they too are chosen. And as you give, know this: God keeps perfect records. Nothing leaves your hand without His notice. Every act of generosity becomes a fragrance before His throne. Every whisper of support builds bridges of light for others to cross. So, beloved, keep your lamp burning, keep pouring oil, keep tending the flame. Heaven sees the way you give, and it delights in the purity of your heart. You are a river that never runs dry, a candle that refuses to flicker out. Through you, countless others will find the path home. Chosen one, the waves of what you started have not stopped moving. Heaven is still stirring around you, tracing the echoes of your obedience. Every act, every word, every decision done from faith is now vibrating in places your eyes cannot reach. You have become like a lighthouse on a cliff, still, steadfast, and yet capable of directing entire ships home in the darkest nights. The Father watches how you move through days that test you. He notices how you resist bitterness when life offers you reasons to surrender to it. Heaven is not impressed by perfection, it is moved by persistence. Every time you refuse to turn away from goodness, you give heaven another reason to pour grace upon you. You may not feel spectacular. You may think, "I'm just doing what anyone should do." But the truth, beloved, is that not everyone still chooses love when they are tired. Not everyone still prays when they don't see results. Not everyone still hopes after heartbreak. You do. And that's what separates you. You live by conviction, not convenience. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy. Chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. You chose life today. When you forgave, you chose life. When you blessed instead of cursed, you chose life. When you continued to believe instead of collapsing in despair, you chose life. That choice sent ripples through generations. Your obedience doesn't just change your day, it shifts your bloodline. God saw your yes and attached future miracles to it. This is how heaven operates. Small earthly acts become eternal signatures. You thought it was a whisper, but heaven heard it as thunder. Every time you choose light, creation adjusts. Trees clap their hands. Angels record. Mercy multiplies. It's the divine cause and effect written into the fabric of existence. The enemy hates your decisions because your choices keep dismantling his plans. He throws discouragement, hoping to silence your courage. He sends distraction, hoping to dull your focus. But every time you choose love again, he loses ground. You are a walking contradiction to darkness, a living testimony that light still wins. Sometimes you feel unseen, but that's not neglect, it's divine intimacy. God hides his precious ones when he's doing deep work. Think of gold, it shines brightest only after it's been hidden and refined. That's you. You're being refined, not rejected. You're being hidden, not forgotten. Chosen one. Heaven is building endurance in you. It's teaching you to keep walking even when no one claps. To keep sowing when fields look barren. To keep shining when storms blur the horizon. Your faith is growing roots. And when roots go deep, fruit always comes. Do you know what happens in the spirit when you refuse to quit? Angels stand taller. The light inside you expands. The Father whispers to the Son, "Look at my child still standing, still believing, still choosing life." And then heaven releases new strength. You may not feel that strength in one instant, but it arrives like dawn, quiet, certain, unstoppable. One day you'll look back and realize that what you thought would break you only built you. That's the mystery of grace. It rebuilds what pain tried to destroy. Beloved, today heaven wants you to acknowledge this truth. You are not the same as yesterday. Every trial has trained your spirit. You've learned to hear God even in silence. You've learned to stand when winds oppose you. You've learned that faith is not emotion, it's decision. And now, at this moment, you stand again at a crossroads of declaration. Heaven waits to record your agreement, just as it did before. This isn't superstition, it's symbolism. Every act of confession, every prophetic word released in faith becomes sound in the Spirit, a sound heaven recognizes. So, as a prophetic gesture, if this word resonates deep in you, comment the number 555 below. That number, in the Spirit, represents grace multiplied, God's hand, moving in transition and divine change. When you type it, you're not just interacting with a message, you're aligning with heaven's timing. Type it as a way of saying, "Lord, I agree with your transformation in me. I choose life again. I welcome change." Each time you do, imagine heaven's light expanding, touching every corner of your journey. You are not typing digits, you're planting declarations. And heaven listens to declarations that come from chosen hearts. Don't underestimate these moments. They may feel small, but every seed of obedience grows into an oak of influence. Others will one day rest under the shade of your faith. They'll draw strength from the roots you are growing right now. So, keep walking with quiet courage. Keep choosing life in every decision. Keep saying yes to the unseen hand that guides you. The Father is pleased. Heaven rejoices. And all of creation leans toward you, waiting for the next yes that will open new paths of light. You have become living proof that the small decisions of faith are never wasted. The ripple continues. The light widens, and heaven writes your obedience into eternity. Chosen one. There are moments when heaven moves so quietly that it feels like nothing is happening. You wake, breathe, pray, move through the day, and wonder if God still sees. Yet, even in those still hours, heaven is at work, shifting foundations, aligning seasons, preparing blessings that require divine precision. You are living inside an unfolding orchestration where every delay has a melody, and every silence has meaning. Heaven has a way of speaking through pauses. The absence of sound does not mean absence of movement. When God goes silent, it is not distance, it is depth. It is the same way a seed goes silent beneath the soil. It must be still while it transforms. The roots form before the bloom appears. Your life right now is beneath that holy soil. You are being formed where no eyes can see, shaped in the unseen, and strengthened in silence. There is a grace that comes only through waiting. You have tasted it, those moments when you wanted to run, but the Spirit whispered, "Stay still." You obeyed, even when your emotions demanded otherwise. That kind of stillness terrifies darkness, because it is proof that you trust God's timing more than your own understanding. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 28 still echo today, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. That is not just a verse, it's a reality being written across your days. God takes the fragments that life throws at you and rearranges them into a masterpiece of grace. Even what was meant to wound you becomes part of the healing process. You have walked through things that tried to bury you, but heaven used them to build you. You are standing as a testimony that purpose cannot be destroyed by pain. What once felt like loss has now become foundation. The same storm that tried to drown you taught you how to swim. The same fire that tried to consume you refined your gold. Every hardship has served heaven's purpose in you. The wounds you carry are not evidence of defeat. They are the proof of survival, the map of where grace has been. Sometimes, when you can't see what He's doing, it's because He's building something that requires mystery. Miracles grow best in hidden places. You are learning to trust Him even when there's no visible progress, because you've discovered that faith is not about sight, it's about surrender. The unseen hand of God never stops shaping what He loves. You've learned that obedience in darkness creates light for others. There are people you've never met whose lives will be changed because of the decisions you're making now. Your integrity in silence will become their inspiration. Your endurance will become their roadmap. Your survival will become their proof that God still restores. Heaven watches your endurance and calls it worship. You may think worship is only song and sound, but true worship is perseverance with a pure heart. It's showing up for life when quitting would be easier. It's forgiving again when forgiveness feels impossible. It's holding faith when logic says, "Let go." That is what delights the Father. Do you realize how much heaven trusts you? The weight you've carried is evidence of that trust. God doesn't place heavy callings on unstable foundations. He saw strength in you before you saw it yourself. The very battles you've faced prove that you are built for more than comfort. You are built for kingdom purpose. And though you sometimes feel weary, your endurance has birthed wisdom. You've learned to read divine patterns, how one closed door often hides a greater one opening, how one lost opportunity often disguises a redirection toward destiny. You've discovered that when something leaves your life by obedience, it always makes room for something holy to enter. The Father is proud of how you keep walking through uncertainty. The Spirit is near, breathing courage into your quiet steps, and the Son intercedes for you still, praying that your faith will not fail, even when you can't feel it. The Trinity is involved in your survival. Beloved, you are not forgotten. You are in divine transition. The silence you sense is not absence, it's setup. The roots are ready, the bloom is near, and when it comes, you'll understand why the waiting had to be long, why the pruning had to cut so deep, and why the silence had to stretch across seasons. You will see that every hidden day was a day heaven spent preparing your stage. You'll realize that God was never withholding anything from you. He was positioning you for something you couldn't yet handle. And when that moment comes, you'll lift your hands and say, "Now I understand. The waiting was worship all along." Until then, keep your peace. The potter's wheel is still turning, and your life is still being shaped. Trust the process. Chosen one, the masterpiece always takes time. Chosen one. Sometimes the gentlest moments in your life are the most sacred. Heaven doesn't always announce breakthroughs with trumpets, it whispers them into your atmosphere. You might not see fireworks, but if you pay attention, you'll feel it, the subtle peace that now surrounds you. The quiet sense that something within has settled. That is the signature of divine completion, heaven confirming that you have crossed from endurance into establishment. This peace you feel now isn't ordinary peace. It's not the absence of trouble, it's the presence of divine order. It means heaven has rearranged what once felt chaotic. You used to carry heavy questions, but God has turned those questions into quiet trust. The ache hasn't disappeared, it's simply been replaced by understanding. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, "Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." That morning has begun for you. It's not the loud morning of sudden miracles, it's the soft morning of restored balance. The kind of dawn that slips in without warning and reveals that what was broken now breathes again. You are standing in that delicate transition between tears and testimony. Heaven's light is slowly touching everything that once looked ruined, and it's revealing beauty beneath the ashes. Beloved, understand, this God never wastes pain. Every sorrow you've endured was converted into something precious. Your tears were not punishment, they were purification. You cried out to heaven, thinking you were losing yourself. But in truth, heaven was washing away what was never meant to stay. The more you wept, the clearer your vision became. You learned to see the world through mercy. The pain that once blinded you now teaches you compassion. You no longer judge others by their mistakes, because you remember your own. You no longer mock weakness, because you've been weak and found grace there. That's why heaven trusts you with influence. You've been humbled by your own need for mercy. Your light is tender now, not arrogant. And that kind of light heals. You've also learned something about stillness. Stillness is not idleness, it's alignment. When you stopped trying to force answers, heaven finally had room to move. When you surrendered control, God could steer you more precisely. Waiting did not delay your destiny, it refined your readiness. You became sensitive to divine timing, learning to move with heaven's rhythm instead of your own. There were days when silence terrified you. You thought God had gone quiet because you had failed. But now you understand silence is the language of trust. Heaven doesn't need to repeat itself to those who already believe. You learn to walk without constant reassurance. You learn to hear the whisper instead of demanding the shout. That is maturity. This new peace that surrounds you is also protection. Heaven is insulating you from distractions that would drain your spirit. People and patterns that once entangled you are quietly fading. It's not loss, it's pruning. The branches that are being cut are the ones that no longer produce fruit. The gardener knows what he's doing. Sometimes the pruning hurts because you loved what he's removing. But God's love for you is greater than your attachment to what slows you down. He would rather you ache briefly than carry what poisons your growth. The absence you feel is actually space being created for something purer to bloom. Chosen one. You've become a vessel that reflects heaven's patience. You don't rush anymore. You move with grace. You speak with care. You forgive quickly. People may not understand it, but you've become a mirror of divine steadiness. The storms that once rattled you no longer define you, they simply remind you of what you've survived. Your resilience is now authority. You speak peace into chaos because you've lived through it. You comfort others because you know the language of pain. You offer mercy because you've tasted it yourself. Heaven has turned your wounds into wisdom, your grief into guidance. And though you may not realize it, your presence alone is becoming intercession. You walk into spaces and atmospheres shift. You don't even have to say much. Heaven speaks through your calm. That calm is not weakness, it's mastery. It means you have aligned your heartbeat with heaven's pulse. Soon, what you carry inwardly will begin to manifest outwardly. You will see restoration relationships mended, opportunities reborn, strength renewed. But the greater miracle is already complete. You have become whole. Heaven delights more in that wholeness than in any external success. God's greatest gift to you is not a thing, it's the version of yourself you've become through surrender. So, breathe deeply. Beloved, the night has done its work. The morning has arrived. Even if it glows softly, the joy that's coming will not be loud, it will be lasting. You've crossed from striving to resting, from waiting to walking, from hoping to knowing. The Father smiles as he watches you now restored. Peaceful, glowing quietly in the dawn, he designed for you long before the storms ever came. Chosen one, do you feel the shift within your spirit? It's subtle, like a breeze that passes through an open window. But it's there, the sense that you are not where you once were. You are no longer fighting to prove your strength. You are walking in quiet assurance. The weight you used to carry no longer belongs to you. Heaven has lifted it. And now you move lighter, freer, more attuned to divine rhythm. You have reached a place where peace has become your weapon. You don't react the way you used to, because you've learned that reaction is not always victory. The enemy expects noise, but silence confuses him. When you stay calm, you deny darkness its audience. You've realized that the most powerful response is not shouting, it's shining. The Spirit reminds us through the Apostles' words in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." This truth hums through your life right now. The pain that once seemed endless now feels purposeful. The delays that frustrated you now make sense in hindsight. Heaven has been orchestrating everything, balancing what to give and what to withhold, shaping you not for comfort, but for calling. Every pressure you've endured produced something sacred inside you: patience, clarity, discernment, compassion. You were never being punished. You were being perfected. Beloved, you have become heaven's instrument. Your endurance is no longer passive, it's prophetic. When you stand firm through storm and silence, you echo the strength of generations before you. Heaven watches you and whispers, "This one understands faith." Faith isn't about escaping the fire, it's about remaining radiant within it. You have done exactly that. Look at how far you've come. You used to question whether God was even near, and now you recognize His fingerprints on every detail of your day. You used to run from stillness, and now you protect it. That's transformation, when what once felt unbearable becomes sacred. Heaven calls that maturity. This season of your life is not about striving anymore, it's about shining from within. The light you carry now doesn't come from your effort, it comes from your intimacy with God. The more you trust Him, the brighter you burn. You are becoming a living flame, steady, strong, fed by grace instead of approval. There are people watching you without realizing it. They see how you handle disappointment with dignity. They notice how you speak gently when others would lash out. They feel the peace that follows you into every space. You are preaching without words, prophesying through presence. Heaven uses lives like yours to remind the world that goodness still exists. But, chosen one, Heaven still desires your agreement. Words have weight, and declarations shape reality. Every time you speak life, you create pathways for heaven to move. That's why this moment matters, because heaven is listening again. So, as an act of faith, a sign that you recognize what God is doing in you, comment the phrase, "I rise." Type it, whisper it, or even write it down on paper if that's where your faith feels most alive. I rise. It's more than a sentence, it's a proclamation to every part of creation that once watched you fall. It tells darkness, "You no longer own my mornings." It tells heaven, "I agree with my resurrection." When you declare those two words, imagine your spirit straightening its spine. See yourself stepping out of old versions of you, the weary, the doubtful, the afraid, and walking into the one heaven designed from the start. The simple act of saying, "I rise," unlocks something in the atmosphere. It announces that what once buried you has now become the soil from which you grow. This is your resurrection season. You don't have to strive for it, you simply step into it. You are the bloom after the drought, the song after the silence. You are not waiting for restoration, you are living it. Every breath you take now is a victory note in heaven's melody. Chosen one. Life will still bring waves, but waves don't drown those who have learned to walk on them. And that's who you are now, a water walker, a faith bearer, a light keeper. The storms may return, but they no longer define you. You have outgrown fear. You've learned that the same God who calms storms can also teach you how to dance in rain. Let this truth rest deep in you. Nothing that comes against you can steal what God placed within you. The light inside you is untouchable. The peace around you is unshakable. The glory that rests upon you is irreversible. You have crossed into a new chapter, and heaven is turning the page with you. So when you type "I rise," know that heaven echoes it back. You rise not alone, but with angels beside you, with grace beneath you, with glory ahead of you. The same power that raised Christ from the grave now animates your very being. And as the day unfolds, every step you take whispers the same song: I rise, I rise, I rise. Chosen one, the light surrounding your life continues to grow. You may not see it with your eyes, but heaven sees it clearly, a radiant glow formed from every choice of faith, every hidden act of kindness, every prayer you whispered when no one else believed. What was once faint now burns steady. You have become a flame that refuses to go out. The light you carry isn't just for you. It was never meant to stay contained. It's like a lantern on a mountainside, shining so that others can find their path through darkness. You don't realize it yet, but there are souls wandering in confusion who are being guided home by the quiet illumination of your endurance. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." That promise was never limited to wealth. It's about flow. Heaven's kingdom is a river, not a reservoir. The more you allow love, wisdom, and generosity to move through you, the more heaven trusts you with abundance. When you hold back, the flow slows. When you pour out, the current strengthens. You, beloved, were created to live in that current. Every time you share light, you extend heaven's reach. When you like this message, it's not just approval, it's agreement. It's as if you're saying, "Yes, Lord, I receive this truth and let it live in me." That small act sends a signal of faith into the atmosphere. It tells heaven that this flame still has oxygen. When you share it, you become a bridge for another wandering soul. Somewhere, someone scrolling through the noise of this world will find this message because of you, and in that moment, a heart will exhale, a burden will lift. Sharing isn't about numbers, it's about nurturing. It's planting spiritual seeds in unseen soil. And when you subscribe, think of it as building a well in your own field. Every message you receive here becomes another drop of water in your spiritual reservoir. You're saying, "Lord, keep the stream flowing into my heart." Each return to this space deepens your connection to the rhythm of heaven's voice, a reminder that faith grows best through consistency. Then, there is the sacred act of giving, the most misunderstood form of worship. Giving is not loss, it's multiplication in disguise. When you donate, you aren't just offering something, you're investing in eternity. It's like adding oil to a lamp that lights countless nights. Each drop you pour becomes illumination for someone you may never meet. Imagine your giving as releasing doves into the sky. You let them go, not knowing where they will land, but trusting they will carry messages of hope. And they do, they reach places your feet may never travel. hearts your words may never touch. One act of generosity becomes a chain reaction of grace. Your seed may leave your hand, but it never leaves your life. Heaven remembers every offering. What departs as resource returns as revelation, strength, and favor. You're not funding a message, you're fueling a movement of healing, light, and divine remembrance. Beloved, every act of support, every like, every share, every word spoken, every gift given is a ripple in the eternal sea. You are part of that flow. Without your participation, the river slows. With it, the waters surge. It's not about obligation, it's about harmony. When hearts move together in generosity, heaven expands its reach. Your heart already understands this principle. You've given before time, care, forgiveness, and each time, heaven returned something greater. It's the divine rhythm of sowing and reaping, the heartbeat of creation itself. Even your breath follows that pattern. Inhale grace, exhale gratitude. So, when you give, think of it as breathing with heaven. You inhale His goodness through these words. You exhale generosity back into the world. The cycle continues, strong and unbroken. And as you do, remember this truth: nothing done in love ever disappears. A shared message can save a moment. A kind comment can save a soul. A small donation can keep the light burning for thousands who need direction in the dark. You are part of a living ecosystem of faith. This isn't a channel, it's a garden. And every time you interact, you plant something eternal. The fruit that grows here nourishes others, but it also feeds your own spirit. The more you give to the garden, the more fragrant it becomes around you. Chosen one, keep this sacred balance alive. You are both recipient and contributor, vessel and stream. Heaven flows through you and back to you. When you sustain what sustains others, you step fully into divine partnership. The Father delights when His children live open-handed. The light He placed within you shines brightest when you pass it forward. So, like the river that never runs dry, let generosity and faith keep moving through you. What you pour out today, heaven will return in waves tomorrow, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Chosen one, heaven's rhythm continues to pulse around your life. What was once scattered is now being gathered. The places that once felt barren are starting to breathe again. You may not see every detail clearly, but you can sense it, the faint hum of divine order returning. You've entered the stage of quiet restoration, where God rebuilds without announcing it, where miracles take root in silence before they bloom in sight. You are walking through the aftermath of obedience. The storms have passed, but they left behind a landscape rich with lessons. Where there were once ruins, new structures of strength now stand. You are learning that brokenness was never the end, it was the blueprint for beauty. Heaven often constructs its greatest works from the fragments of surrendered hearts. The voice of heaven reminds us through Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 7, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him." Trust has become your anchor. It's no longer a word you repeat, it's a reality you embody. You've learned to trust beyond emotion, to believe without evidence, to walk even when visibility is low. Faith, for you, is no longer a theory, it's a muscle trained through repetition. Each season of uncertainty strengthened it until it could hold the weight of purpose. Chosen one. There is something holy about endurance. The world glorifies speed, but heaven honors stability. You've become steady, a soul who doesn't crumble under delay. A heart that stays soft even after disappointment. That's the kind of strength that moves heaven, because it mirrors God's own nature, unchanging. Patient, faithful. Remember the days when trust felt impossible, when every prayer seemed unanswered and every promise seemed far. You wondered if heaven had turned its face away. Yet now you see it clearly. God was not ignoring you. He was investing in you. Every not yet was a layer of protection. Every closed door was a detour toward destiny. You have walked through shadows and discovered that the darkness never owned you. It merely revealed your light. You've learned that sometimes God hides you to heal you, and sometimes He delays you to develop you. You no longer despise the wait, because you understand that waiting seasons are where character is carved. Beloved, you have become the kind of person who can carry promise without pride. That's why heaven trusts you with influence. You will not let the gift replace the giver. You will not allow favor to erase humility. You will not chase applause when you've already tasted approval from above. The peace that now rests on you is the crown of that maturity. There's a certain silence around your life now, not emptiness, but serenity. You don't crave validation anymore. You don't chase explanations. You walk in a holy calm because you know who holds the script. That confidence draws heaven closer. God loves walking with those who no longer demand signs, because trust itself has become the sign. You may still face challenges, but your perspective has shifted. What once looked like obstacles now appear as opportunities for divine revelation. Every challenge becomes a classroom where grace teaches deeper lessons. You no longer fear trials. You mine them for treasure. You know that pressure doesn't destroy, it defines. This is why peace feels different now. It's not fragile or borrowed, it's fortified. It's built from battles won in private, from prayers whispered when no one was watching. That's why your peace intimidates darkness. It can't be stolen, because it wasn't given by circumstance. It came from covenant. Chosen one. You are beginning to understand the sacred paradox. The more you surrender, the more authority you gain. Heaven's power flows through yielded vessels. The higher God lifts you, the lower your heart bows. This humility is your shield, your safeguard, your guarantee that favor will not fracture you. You've reached a point where comparison no longer fits you. The race others run doesn't tempt you anymore because you've found your lane. Faithfulness. Your calling isn't about being seen, it's about being sent. You are sent into conversations, moments, and atmospheres to shift them with quiet strength. Heaven smiles at this kind of obedience. Angels move swiftly around those who live without striving. The air around you is lighter because you no longer wrestle with destiny, you flow with it. You've moved from fighting the current to becoming the current. That's maturity in motion. Beloved, if you could see from heaven's vantage point, you'd weep with gratitude. The things you thought delayed you actually directed you. The roads you resented were the very ones that led you home. The seasons that seemed silent were the symphonies heaven composed in your absence of understanding. Now, as you breathe in this chapter of quiet glory, remember, stability is also supernatural. Miracles are not always explosions of light. Sometimes they are simply days of peace after years of turmoil. That calm you feel is not ordinary. It is evidence of divine hands holding your world steady. Keep walking in that rhythm. Chosen one, you are living proof that trust transforms chaos into clarity. And that surrender is the gateway to serenity. What you carry now is not just survival, it's sacred stillness. Heaven's own signature upon your soul. Chosen one, heaven's gaze still rests upon you. You are not merely enduring anymore, you are embodying divine rhythm. Each breath you take now carries purpose. Every step you walk has been ordered. The confusion that once clouded you has begun to lift. And clarity, soft yet steady, fills your spirit like sunrise spilling through mist. You have stepped into alignment. You may not feel powerful, but heaven calls this your moment of authority. The same voice that shaped galaxies is now whispering through your obedience. You've learned to move with heaven's heartbeat, not against it. You've learned that faith doesn't mean rushing, it means resting while you advance. Heaven watches with joy because you finally understand what surrender truly means. It's not giving up, it's giving over. You have given your fears to faith, your timelines to trust, your pain to purpose. The Father has seen it all, and today, the divine record reads, approved. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it linger. Wait for it, it will surely come. It will not delay. Those words are alive within you right now. The vision you've carried for years, the one you nearly abandoned, is still on heaven's schedule. It has not been forgotten. What looked delayed was actually being developed. The roots were growing before the fruit appeared. Heaven never rushes what it intends to last. Beloved, you've come too far to doubt that now. You are no longer wandering, you are walking in prophetic timing. Every closed door you once mourned was part of divine choreography. You were being rerouted, not rejected. And now the route ahead begins to clear. One obedient step at a time. You are beginning to see patterns, how pain was preparation, how silence became seed time, how losses were actually divine trades. The things you released made room for what heaven had reserved. That's why peace feels heavier. Now it's not temporary, it's eternal. Chosen one, you are heaven's evidence that waiting seasons produce weighty souls. Your faith has gained density. You can now carry more light, more wisdom, more compassion. You used to survive by asking why. Now you thrive by trusting when. That's growth in its purest form. The Father is smiling at your endurance. Every time you believed when you couldn't see, He added another layer of strength to your spirit. Now that strength radiates out of you calm, unshakable, contagious. You have become a stabilizer in the storms of others, a living anchor in a drifting world. This next stretch of your journey will require your voice, not your volume. Heaven wants you to speak peace into chaos, declare life over despair, and testify boldly of how grace never failed you. Your story has become a lamp. Each time you share what God has done, you ignite courage in hearts that are still trembling in shadow. But heaven also invites you into a moment of agreement, a prophetic act of alignment, a way to mark this revelation in the natural as it is in the spiritual. Every time heaven reveals truth, it waits for the human echo of Amen. That echo is your key right now. So, as a declaration of faith and timing, comment the number 444 below. This number carries the rhythm of divine order and completion within transition. It's heaven's way of saying, you are in alignment with the promise. When you type 444, don't do it as a reaction, do it as revelation. Let it be your signature on the covenant you've walked into. You're saying, I agree with the appointed time. I choose to stay in sync with heaven. Each time your fingers form that number, imagine it echoing in the spirit realm. Resounding like a seal pressed into wax, it will surely come. It will not delay. This act may seem small, but prophetic acts often are. They're simple gestures with eternal weight. They're how heaven measures agreement. Every number typed in faith becomes sound that heaven translates into movement. And when heaven moves, chains break quietly. Chosen one, what is unfolding for you now is not a new chapter, it's a fulfillment. Promises that seem distant are beginning to take form. You'll see it first through small confirmations, through moments that feel oddly familiar, like déjà vu from a dream God once showed you. That's the divine timeline catching up with your obedience. Stay steady. The vision is still alive. The clock of heaven never loses rhythm. Every seed of faith you've planted is nearing harvest. Some will sprout soon, others later, but all will bear fruit. Let peace anchor you when impatience whispers. Let gratitude guard your words when disappointment tries to creep in. And remember, your role is not to force outcomes, but to stay faithful in motion. The same God who began this good work in you will perfect it until its completion. You are not behind. You are right on time. You have not been forgotten. You have been positioned. And as heaven's light continues to unfold around your path, every delay will prove to have been divine precision. Comment 444 if your spirit agrees. Heaven will hear, and so will your destiny. Chosen one, you have reached a depth in your journey where silence has turned into language. You've learned to hear God in subtlety, in the way the wind pauses, in the stillness between heartbeats, in the quiet reassurance that no longer needs thunder to feel true. What once required confirmation now flows as confidence. Heaven has written assurance into your very pulse. You are not the same vessel that began this path. The clay has been fired, the cracks filled with gold. Where you once broke easily, now you bend gracefully. God's craftsmanship shows in your resilience. He has made you both delicate and durable, soft enough to carry compassion, but strong enough to bear calling. You no longer strive to prove you're chosen, you simply are. That understanding has changed the way you walk through the world. You're not running anymore, you're resting while moving. You're not chasing blessings, you're attracting them by alignment. The maturity now forming in you is visible even to heaven. The voice of wisdom speaks again from Proverbs. Chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. This truth has become your compass. You've stopped relying on sight alone. You've learned that vision without submission leads to confusion. But when you trust, paths straighten themselves. Roads appear beneath your steps like stones rising out of water, guiding you toward divine destinations. Chosen one, your trust has built invisible highways in the spirit. Every time you chose to obey without clarity, another piece of destiny aligned. You didn't realize it, but heaven was laying down foundation beneath your faith. Every unseen yes became an anchor for the miracles you are now walking toward. The trials that once felt cruel now reveal their purpose. They taught you endurance, empathy, patience, the very things needed to steward blessing without pride. You were not denied, you were deepened. God was never withholding from you, He was enlarging you. The capacity you have now didn't exist before the breaking. The brokenness expanded you to hold more light. And now, that light radiates through your life differently. It's quieter, purer, wiser. It no longer seeks to impress, it seeks to impact. When people encounter you now, they sense something they can't describe, an atmosphere that feels like home, like rest, like grace. That's heaven's residue clinging to your presence. You've also begun to notice how divine timing weaves through everything. You meet people who seem sent, not accidental. You hear phrases that feel like confirmations. The Spirit guides you not in dramatic displays, but through gentle nudges. This is the fruit of maturity. You no longer need storms to move. A whisper is enough. Beloved, heaven has also been pruning your surroundings. Some relationships have faded. Some opportunities have shifted. Some doors have closed without explanation. But this time, you didn't panic. You felt peace in the letting go because your trust outweighed your attachment. That's how you know you've grown. The pruning that once felt painful now feels protective. You are beginning to see life through heaven's architecture. You understand that God doesn't erase, He edits. He doesn't demolish, He refines. Every subtraction in your story is preparation for a purer addition. Where others see loss, you now see alignment. That's divine intelligence at work in you. This is the era of stability for you. The building season after the wilderness. You're laying stone upon stone with wisdom now. No longer rushing construction. Every decision is measured in peace. You ask, does this carry His presence instead of, does this bring my comfort? That's the question that defines those truly led by heaven. The reward of obedience is not always immediate blessing, it's inner knowing. You walk differently now because you carry assurance inside you. You don't demand signs because your spirit is the sign. Heaven trusts those who move without spectacle, who glow without noise, who serve without seeking credit. Chosen one. Realize this, you are walking into a season of inheritance, not just material, but spiritual. Wisdom will pour into you with ease. Insights will unfold like petals, one revelation leading to another. You will begin to see how all your paths, even the painful ones, were rivers leading back to the same ocean, His will. Your peace is your testimony. It speaks louder than any sermon you could preach. People who once doubted you will soon be drawn, not by argument, but by the calm you carry. That calm is evidence of divine habitation. Stay in that posture. Keep your heart unarmored but guarded, soft but discerning. The potter isn't finished. He's perfecting the shine now. You are the vessel that has endured both fire and forming, and heaven calls you ready. Everything that once confused you now makes sense. The timing, the tests, the tears, they were all threads in a divine tapestry. Step back and see it. It spells your destiny in golden strokes. You have become not just a survivor of seasons, but a steward of revelation. Chosen one. There is a quiet glow around you that even you can sense now. It's not loud or demanding, it's sacred. You have become a living sanctuary. A temple not built by human hands, but refined by divine patience. Everything you have walked through, the trials, The pruning, the waiting has created space for heaven to dwell more deeply within you. You are no longer chasing God, you are carrying Him. The divine presence rests upon your shoulders like a mantle. It moves when you move, speaks when you speak, and breathes through every act of love you offer. Heaven has transformed you from a seeker into a carrier, from one who pursues light to one who becomes it. You are not striving for anointing anymore, you are living from it. The Word of God declares in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. This truth has taken root in your soul. You've learned that separation from the source leads to striving, but union leads to flow. You used to try to produce fruit through effort, but now it simply grows through abiding. You are no longer working for favor, you are working from it. Everything you touch that is born from surrender carries heaven's fragrance. Beloved, you have matured into harmony with divine rhythm. The same spirit that hovered over creation now moves quietly through your life. You have become part of heaven's ongoing conversation, a continuation of what began in Genesis, a melody of restoration that never ended. Look closely at your life and see how divine fingerprints mark everything: the timing of a meeting, the comfort that arrives at the exact moment of despair, the gentle nudges that reroute your plans. Nothing is random anymore. The once scattered pieces have aligned. Heaven's choreography has become visible in the everyday. And still, humility guards your steps. You've learned that power without reverence leads to pride. You do not boast about what God is doing, you simply give glory. Every blessing becomes another opportunity to point upward. Heaven loves such posture. It multiplies what is held with open hands. There is a kind of rest that comes after long obedience. And you are entering it now. It is not idleness, but assurance. You no longer feel the need to rush toward the next thing. You've realized that God is both destination and journey. Peace has replaced pressure. Joy has replaced striving. Gratitude has replaced grasping. Chosen one. Heaven's work in you has made you dangerous to despair. Darkness can no longer manipulate you through fear, because you've seen too much of God's consistency to doubt Him now. You've stood in the wilderness and found manna. You've watched rivers flow from dry ground. You've lived miracles in moments no one else witnessed. Faith for you is no longer hope, it's memory. That memory fuels your endurance. It tells you, if He did it before, He will do it again. It reminds you that the same God who carried you through storms is capable of guiding you through sunshine without letting you lose your way. That's often the greater challenge, not surviving storms, but staying humble in peace. Yet heaven trusts you with both. Every day now feels lighter because your burden has been traded for purpose. You don't carry outcomes anymore, you carry obedience. The difference is freedom. You act in love and leave results to heaven. You walk by conviction, not convenience. That's how the truly chosen live rooted in peace, fruitful in purpose. You've also learned the wisdom of divine boundaries. Not everyone can walk with you where you are going. That realization doesn't carry bitterness anymore, it carries understanding. You bless those who leave because you finally know that separation can be sacred. Every exit makes room for new alignment. The season ahead will be marked by clarity. You will begin to see promises unfold without striving. Doors will open without forcing. What once felt delayed will appear suddenly, but you will know it was never sudden for heaven. It was always on time. And when these moments come, you will not shout in pride, you will whisper in worship. Because the same humility that kept you through the wilderness will keep you through the harvest. You will lift your eyes, smile, and quietly say, "It was always you, chosen one." Rest in that peace. You have nothing left to prove. You are already known, already chosen, already complete. Heaven's delight in you is not based on what you will do next. It is anchored in who you have become. The light within you burns steady now, a reflection of divine constancy. Stay in that flow. Stay connected to the vine. Your fruit will continue to grow. Your peace will deepen, and your heart will remain soft under the sunlight of His presence. Heaven looks at you and whispers one word, finished. Chosen one. Heaven leans close again. The melody of your faith has become a song heaven cannot resist. Every step you've taken in obedience, every quiet yes, every moment of surrender, each has been like a note in a divine composition. Now, the symphony rises. You are standing in the crescendo of your journey, the place where everything begins to make sense. You may feel an inner stillness now, but heaven sees momentum. What looks to you like calm is actually the wind before the harvest. The Father is moving pieces you can't see, aligning hearts and opportunities to meet you where purpose demands. You've walked through seasons of scarcity, but abundance is now approaching, not just in provision, but in peace, relationships, and revelation. The Spirit reminds us in 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 8, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." This promise has never been about mere survival, it's about overflow. You are not called to live at the edges of lack. You are called to flow in divine sufficiency. But heaven's abundance has a rhythm. It moves through those who keep it moving. Just as rivers never drink their own water, your blessing is meant to refresh others. When you like this message, see it not as a reaction, but as a ripple that says, "I agree with this flow." It's a small act, but faith often hides in the smallest gestures. That single touch tells heaven you are attentive, aware, and aligned. When you share, imagine yourself as a lantern bearer walking through a dark village. Each click, each word you spread, is light released into another person's night. Somewhere, someone is silently praying for a sign that God still speaks, and your act of sharing may become their answer. This is how heaven multiplies through human hearts. When you subscribe, picture planting a vine in fertile ground. Each return to this place of words and spirit allows that vine to grow stronger. Over time, it bears fruit not just of knowledge, but of transformation. It ensures that your faith doesn't flicker out in isolation. You become part of a continuous exchange between heaven and earth, a branch constantly refreshed by divine conversation. And when you choose to donate, see it as releasing fragrance. You are offering something tangible to sustain something eternal. It's like pouring oil into the lamp that has guided you. The light you now enjoy continues for others because of that oil. Giving doesn't empty you, it perfumes the air around you with the scent of gratitude and purpose. Every contribution, every word of encouragement, every comment of testimony is like placing a brick on an invisible altar. Together, we build sanctuaries not of stone, but of story. Your engagement turns words into warmth, and warmth into revival. You are not supporting a message, you are participating in a movement of light that spans beyond borders. Beloved, don't underestimate the impact of your participation. The kingdom of heaven grows not through grand gestures, but through collective faith. One small seed, one simple comment, one act of generosity, each one becomes a heartbeat in the body of Christ. What you do today may be the reason someone else doesn't give up tomorrow. You've seen how light multiplies when shared. A single candle can ignite thousands without losing its flame. Likewise, every act of engagement keeps this divine flame alive. When you respond, when you contribute, when you pour love back into this space, you are ensuring that light keeps reaching those still stumbling in shadow. Think of this as a garden that grows through gratitude. Every like is a drop of water. Every share is sunlight. Every subscription is a rooted tree. Every donation is the fertilizer that deepens the soil. Together, they create a living ecosystem of faith that keeps blooming. Season after season, chosen one, heaven never overlooks such offerings. The Father sees the heart behind every act. He measures not the size of the seed, but the sincerity of the hand that sows it. And each time you engage, each time you give, heaven whispers the same response: I will multiply this. So let your heart move as it feels led. Keep this flow of love alive. Let every action you take, whether you click, share, speak, or give, become a reflection of the grace that keeps transforming you. And when you finish reading, take a moment to breathe and leave your voice below. Comment how this message touched you, not for recognition, but for remembrance. Your words could be the spark that keeps another chosen one believing. Sometimes, a single sentence can become someone else's turning point. Heaven delights in that kind of partnership, the quiet collaboration between divine message and human response. Every movement of your heart here is felt in the throne room. Keep the river flowing. Beloved, the more you pour out, the more heaven refills. The river never runs dry when its current remains open. Chosen one, the atmosphere around you feels different now, doesn't it? It's as though the air itself carries recognition, like creation finally understands who stands among it. Heaven has been shaping you for this quiet unveiling, the moment when the invisible work within begins to manifest without. You are not who you were when this journey began. You have been reformed by the very hands of grace. You've walked through so many layers of refining that your spirit now carries a unique fragrance, the aroma of surrender. It's not the scent of perfection, but of peace. Those who encounter you feel it, even if they can't name it. You've become a living reminder that wholeness is possible after breaking, that peace is possible after storms. The voice of heaven whispers again through the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. This verse now lives inside you, not just as scripture but as story. You've seen the evidence. What began as confusion has become clarity. What began as pain has become purpose. You once questioned whether you would survive, and now you carry survival as your ministry. The work He started in you has not stalled, it has simply deepened. Heaven never abandons what it anoints. You have learned to love the process. What once felt like punishment, you now recognize as preparation. God never wasted a single moment. Every disappointment carried direction. Every loss held a hidden lesson. Every delay shaped your discernment. You can look back now and see the divine fingerprints across every season of your becoming. Your story has become layered with grace. You don't speak from theory anymore. You speak from encounter. You know what it means to wait, to weep, to wonder, and to rise again. That experience has turned you into a healer without trying to be one. Your words carry oil. Your silence carries wisdom. Your presence alone reminds others that God restores what seemed unsalvageable. Beloved, this is the season where recognition meets readiness. Heaven has been watching for your heart to settle, for your spirit to align. And now that it has, the release begins. Doors you thought were closed forever will swing open not because of striving, but because peace has finally become your password. Heaven always opens to those who walk in peace. Still, you will feel the gentle tug of humility, reminding you that this isn't the end of refinement, it's simply the next depth of it. Every level of glory carries its own guardians. The higher you rise, the more you'll need silence, solitude, and stillness to stay clear. God trusts you with greater influence because He knows you'll guard it with grace. Look around, and you'll begin to notice how even nature mirrors your transformation. The same way the ocean pulls back before releasing a powerful wave, heaven often retracts before it releases. That's what your quiet season was. It was the tide receding. Now the wave of fulfillment begins to roll. The promises are not coming to you, they're coming through you. The fruit of your obedience is beginning to ripen. Not all at once, but steadily, like sunlight unfolding across a field. The people who once misunderstood you will start to see the truth of your calling without you saying a word. Vindication is arriving, but it won't look like victory to the world. It will look like peace to you. You won't need to prove anything. Peace will do the proving. Chosen one. This is the era where joy returns. Not the fragile kind that depends on conditions, but the steady kind that flows from understanding. You will wake up one morning and realize that gratitude has replaced grief. You'll smile without trying. You'll speak without fear. You'll love without guarding. Heaven calls this restoration, a joy that doesn't erase your scars but turns them into light. You may still face small battles, but they won't shake you anymore. You'll fight them differently now, with quiet authority. You've learned that your greatest weapon is not noise, but knowing. You know who you are. You know who your Father is. You know that every challenge still bows to purpose. And so, you walk softly into this newness. You move slower, more aware, more deliberate. The world may call it caution, but heaven calls it mastery, the grace to live without haste, because you finally trust the one who writes your pace. Chosen one. Breathe in this peace. It's the sound of heaven finishing what it started. You have become the evidence of completion in motion. The work continues. Yes, but its foundation is finished. You are standing on ground that has been prayed for, prepared for, and paid for by grace itself. Keep walking. Heaven walks with you. Still shaping, still shining, still singing through your life. Chosen one. The air feels sacred today. There is a softness that surrounds you, the kind that only comes when heaven has finished something deep within the soul. You stand at the edge of completion, not as one exhausted, but as one refined. The long journey that once felt endless now folds into stillness. You have not only reached the other side, you have become it. The spirit within you no longer trembles with uncertainty. It hums with quiet strength. You have learned to dwell in the tension between promise and patience, between revelation and rest. Heaven smiles because you no longer rush its rhythm. You trust the pauses now as much as the breakthroughs. You understand that divine timing is not delay, it is design. You've seen what happens when you stop fighting process. Peace takes over. The soil of your heart, once hardened by striving, has softened. You have become good ground for divine seed. What heaven plants in you now will grow effortlessly. Because the resistance is gone, the rain that once felt cold now feels cleansing. Every storm you endured has turned into nourishment. The prophet's words from Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, now unfold in your life, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. You are living proof of that exchange. The ashes you once wore have turned to crowns. The heaviness that once pressed upon you has become the oil that shines through you. Where you once felt despair, now you carry praise as your natural state. This is redemption in real time, beauty rising where brokenness once bloomed. Chosen one, pause and realize how far you've come. You have walked through night after night and never lost your direction. You've stumbled, yes, but you never stopped walking. Even when prayers felt unanswered, you kept your faith alive. Heaven recorded every step, every tear, every still, I trust you. The Father never required perfection, only persistence, and you gave him that. You remained when others walked away. You listened when silence was heavy. You trusted even when everything else demanded you doubt. That kind of faith changes the atmosphere of heaven. It marks your name in eternity as one who endured. Now, the reward is not only restoration, it is revelation. God is showing you who you truly are in his sight. You're not merely forgiven, you are favored. You're not merely healed, you are holy. You're not merely surviving, you're sovereign under grace. Heaven calls you beloved. And that identity cannot be shaken by circumstance or shadow. This revelation brings a deeper calm. You don't need to strive for love, you are already standing in it. You don't chase peace, it follows you. You don't plead for purpose, you breathe it. Every motion, every conversation, every silence now carries intention. You have become an instrument of heaven's melody. You will begin to notice subtle miracles, answers that arrive before questions, favor that flows without forcing. The alignment is natural now because your spirit is synchronized with heaven's rhythm. The same hands that broke you now bless you. The same fire that burned you now fuels you. You've discovered the secret transformation is not about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who you've always been in God's design. The journey stripped away false layers until only truth remained. The truth that you were never abandoned, only being refined. That every wilderness was a womb for revelation. That every waiting season was a preparation for wisdom. Beloved, you carry the aroma of completion. It follows you into rooms, into conversations, into quiet mornings. People won't know what it is, they'll just feel peace when you enter. That's heaven's signature resting upon you, confirming that the work inside you is real. You are ready now not to prove, but to pour, not to conquer, but to comfort, not to declare victory with noise, but to demonstrate it through gentleness. The world doesn't need louder voices, it needs lighter hearts. You are one of them, a walking restoration, a breathing prayer, a vessel of divine stillness. In this final stretch of your journey, the Father's desire is simple: stay near. You've learned that proximity is greater than progress. To walk close to His heart is to never lose your way. The future ahead will not be void of challenge, but you will face it with a different spirit, anchored, assured, awake, chosen one. Heaven's delight in you is complete. The sound of your obedience has reached its crescendo. The unseen symphony that began with your surrender now ends in harmony. What you once called pain, heaven now calls preparation. What you once feared losing, heaven calls fulfilled. And as you stand here, bathed in quiet glory, know this: your story is not ending. It's expanding. The final page is not closure, it's continuation. The same God who brought you through the valley now leads you into light, and the radiance within you will guide others home. You have become the message itself, peace written in flesh, love walking among storms, redemption breathing freely. Heaven's delight rests upon you, eternally, beloved chosen one. If these words have walked with you, if they have stirred something holy inside you, pause and let gratitude speak. You've just traveled through a tapestry of revelation, 17 steps of becoming, 17 echoes of heaven's voice calling you by name. You are not who you were when you began. You carry light now, steady and sacred. As this journey settles into silence, let your response be worship in motion. When you light this message, imagine it as lighting one more candle in a cathedral that never goes dark. Every heart that joins adds to the glow. When you share, see it as opening a window so that someone still lost in night can glimpse dawn through your faith. If you subscribe, think of it as returning to the same well where living water flows, where every visit refills your strength and refreshes your calling. You are part of a growing circle of light bearers who refuse to let hope die. And finally, comment below, not just to react, but to remember. Tell the world, in your own words, what heaven has whispered to you. Your sentence might be the spark that keeps another soul believing. This isn't just engagement, it's communion. Every gesture you make, every share, every word, every seed is a bridge that keeps this flow alive. Through your hands, heaven's message keeps reaching hearts. Together, we build altars of light across the digital landscape. One act of faith at a time. You are seen. You are loved. You are chosen still. May the peace that found you here continue to walk beside you in every season ahead.